Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So we can start.
The screen is not visible.
Yeah, now it will be visible. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so last time, I wanted to show that determinant C is equal to determinant A to determinant B. Okay, so this was the result that I wanted to show, that if you have two square arrays A and B, and you form a third square array, which is multiplication of the matrix of A and matrix of B, and I call that matrix C, then the determinant of C is equal to determinant of A to determinant of B. So to prove this, I started with the determinant D, which was actually given by this. So one thing that I did not mention when I was giving this proof was, supposing you expand this determinant by the rows, then you actually get determinant D is equal to determinant A into determinant B. So that's the first part. Okay. And this you can actually verify by taking A to be a 2 by 2 matrix and B to be a 2 by 2 matrix. And then write down D and show that by expanding D, you actually get the determinant A times determinant B. Okay. So that is something that I did not show, but you can actually work it out. But what I showed was that this determinant D can be written in a fashion such that I will get a 0 on the upper left hand corner, and then the determinant of the matrix C, which is a multiplication of A and B, and then a minus identity and B. And this could be expanded by rows, and you would get basically that determinant C is equal to determinant D. And since C is equal to A times B, and since determinant D is equal to determinant A times determinant B in one case, and determinant C in the other case, I know that determinant A into determinant B is C, determinant C. Okay, so the first part I had not shown, mainly that determinant D is equal to determinant A into determinant B. I only showed that determinant D is equal to determinant C, where C is the product of A into B. Is that clear? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, and then I wanted to take an example of a 2 by 2 system where it was diagonally dominant. That means I had 3x plus y equal to 10 and x plus 6y equal to 9. So the diagonal elements a11 is 3 and a22 is 6, and x is x1, y is x2. So that was the system that I had taken. And I showed that by an iterative procedure, I can actually get the solution. Okay. And this iterative solution is not Gauss-Jordan technique. I'm sorry, Gauss-Jordan is actually an elimination technique. This is called Gauss-Seidel technique, a Gauss-Seidel iteration. Okay, I made a mistake in telling you the name of the technique. Okay. There is another iterative technique which is very similar to Gauss-Seidel iteration technique. It's called the Gauss-Jacobi iteration technique, but I'll not go into that. And in this, basically what you are doing is resubstituting the latest values of the XL in an iteration to calculate the diagonal element Xik. Okay, so what I did was the following. The procedure was very simple. Xik is actually Bi minus of the left hand side except the Ai times Xik. And when I'm dealing with an ith equation, all the variables XLK, all the unknowns XL are kth iteration values are known because they are all equations that come above I. Below I, the equations still have unknowns which are k minus 1 iteration values. So that's the reason why I have it is Bi minus sigma over L equal to 1 to I minus 1, AIL XLK minus of L equal to I plus 1 to N sigma, AIL XL K minus 1 divided by AII. And there are other kinds of techniques which I will not go into, which are the small matrix techniques. One of those techniques we have also developed, but I will not talk about that. So now I will go into the homogeneous system. homogeneous system of equations. So this is Ax equal to 0, okay, where what we have is where 0 is a null vector. Okay, and if you should have if determinant A is equal to 0, then inverse of A exists. A inverse exists. So if A inverse exists, what's going to happen is that
So it's equal to 0 or not equal to 0?
what is it? Oh, sorry,
A.
determinant A not equal to 0. You are right. Okay, A inverse A, X is equal to 0, or I get X is identically equal to 0. That means we only have trivial solutions. If determinant A is not equal to 0. Okay, so now let me look at some arbitrary system of equations. Okay, so I'm not looking at this thing, a number of variables equal to number of unknowns. Okay, a number of equations equal to number of unknowns, but I'm looking at a following system, which is A11x1 plus A12x2 plus A1n x is equal to 0. This is one equation. The second equation is A21x1 plus A22x2 plus A2n(xn). This is equal to the second equation. Like that, I have m equations. So the number of equations is in general not equal to number of unknowns. Okay, so this I can actually write it in the form of a matrix equation, which is A11, A12, A1n, A21, A22, A2n, AM1, AM2, AMN, X1, X2, etc. Xn is equal to 0. So this is the general homogeneous system. So the matrix on the left is an m by n matrix. Now we want to solve this system. To solve this system, I have to define a few things. So firstly, what I'll define is what is a submatrix. Submatrix of A is any matrix which is obtained from A by eliminating one or more rows or one or more columns. So the submatrices that I can have example is the following. See, I can have submatrix of A is A21, A22, and A32. Okay. In this, what I have done is I have eliminated the first column, the first row, and the third column up to nth column, and third row, fourth row up to mth row. Okay, so this is a submatrix. Okay, I can also have a submatrix which is just any other thing, like for example A11, A1r, A21 to A2r. I can have a square submatrix. So this is another submatrix, square submatrix. So submatrices need not be square. Submatrices can be, non-square submatrices. Okay, so it is not necessary. So you can have a large number of submatrices. Then there is what is called rank of a matrix A. This is the order of the submatrix, the highest order of the submatrix. The highest order of the submatrix, which is square and whose determinant is non-zero. Is non-zero. So let me call this matrix, for example, R. Okay, so one second. Sharing went off. Just share one second. The file got closed, so that's the reason why the sharing went off. Share. Okay, so R can be the following: R is less than M or N. Okay, and you can have equal to. Okay, so for example, R can be M by N for M smaller than N. Okay, smaller than or equal to N. It can be an N by N. So the rank of a matrix can be the larger of the smaller of the number of rows or columns in the matrix. Okay, because the largest square matrix that you can ever construct is equal to the smaller number of either rows or columns. Because if you have a 4 by 6 matrix, then the largest square matrix you can have is 4 by 4. Okay, so the rank can at best be 4, but rank can be less than 4 also. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say here. Okay, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Okay, so now having said this, another important result is that rank of matrix A is equal to rank of matrix A transpose. Okay, the reason is simple. Okay, so supposing I take matrix A transpose has submatrix R transpose. If matrix A is submatrix R, which is equal to, which is a square matrix with non-zero determinant. Okay, so because A transpose has a submatrix which is R transpose, and since determinant R is equal to determinant R transpose, rank of A transpose is equal to rank of A. Okay, so the ranks are the same, whether you take the transpose or whether you take the system, whether you take A or A transpose, the ranks are the same. So now let me see how I can solve this system which I wrote down. That is, now let me look at the solution of this system. A11x1 plus A1nxn is equal to 0. A21x1 plus A2nxn equal to 0. I have AM1x1 etc. plus AMN xn equal to 0. Okay. Now I assume that I have rearranged the equations, rearranged the order of the equations. So that determinant of this is non-zero. That is A11 to A1R, A21 to A2R, and AM1, AR1, ARR is not equal to 0. That is, the R by R matrix that you can get as a submatrix of the first R equations of the M equations will be the rank of the matrix. Okay, and it will give me a non-zero determinant. Okay, is it clear? So what I have is that this determinant is non-zero. So what I'll do is I'll take the first R equations, okay, and rearrange these equations such that the R by R matrix, which is formed from submatrix, which is formed from the matrix of A, occurs on the left-hand corner, and this is the largest square matrix which has a non-zero determinant, or this is the matrix R, which is equal to the rank of the matrix A. Okay, so what I can do is now consider the first R equations. And transpose the unknowns XR plus 1 to XN to the right hand side. That means what I'm going to do is write it this way. I'm considering the first R equations. I'll say A11x1 plus A12x2 plus A1R XR equal to minus of A1R plus 1 XR plus 1 minus A1R plus 2 XR plus 2 etc. minus A1n xn. Okay. Similarly, I'll have the second equation, which is A21x1 plus A22x2 plus A2R XR is equal to minus of A2R plus 1 XR plus 1 minus of A2R plus 2 X2 etc. minus of A2 n xn. And the next R equations. So I have AR1x1 plus AR2x2 etc. plus ARRXR is equal to minus of AR comma R plus 1 XR plus 1 of A of R comma R plus 2 XR plus 2 etc. minus A of R comma N xn. So I have taken first n equations and shifted all the terms containing the variables XR plus 1 to XN from equation 1 to R to the right hand side. So this is what I have done. Is it clear? Okay, because what was here, I just shifted, from R to N onto the right hand side. Okay, so these things that are here, I shifted them to the right hand side and only maintained the first R equations in Rn. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is the following. That is, I will show you why the circle is coming. Okay, that went away. Okay, now what I'll show you is that determinant R is non-zero. So I can write down R times this x1, x2 to xr is equal to minus of why put minus unnecessary. B1, B2 to BR, right? And B1 is minus of A1 R plus 1 XR plus 1 up to minus of A1 N XN and so on and so forth. BR is minus of R comma R plus 1 XR plus 1 etc. minus R comma N XN. Now assume that XR plus 1 to XN can take arbitrary values. Okay, so if they can take arbitrary values, what happens is the following. I can say that I can solve for x1, x2, etc. in terms of R inverse B1, B2. Oh, sorry, not B1, B2, BR. And the solutions are expressed as a function, as a linear function of xr plus 1 to x. Is that clear? So I did not do anything drastic. All I did was I kept R variables onto the left hand side and the remaining variables I transpose to the right hand side, and I called them B1, B2 to BR. And now I can write my equation as matrix R times x1, x2 to xr is equal to B1, B2 to BR, or I can get x1, x2, xr equal to R inverse B1, B2, BR, because determinant R is non-zero, as R is the rank of the matrix A. Is this part clear?
So the solutions are expressed as, then what is written?
What's it?
The solutions are expressed as
a linear function of xr plus 1 to xn, because it is you see that it does not depend upon the power of xr plus 1, or it does not depend upon product of xr into xr plus 1 into xr plus 4 or something like that. Okay, it depends linearly on the remaining variables xr plus 1 to xn. Okay, any other questions?
no, sir.
I can proceed. Now I've got the solution, but I want to show that do the solution actually it's a whole bunch of solutions anyways. Does the solution x1, x2, xr satisfy the other m minus r equations? Okay, so this was a question that I had. That is, I have got the solution, but this is a solution only for the first R equations. Now, are these solutions also the solutions of the remaining m minus r equations? That's the r plus 1th equation, r plus 2, all the way up to the mth equation. Okay, so this is what I want to know. So to do this, let me define the following variables. I'll define the variable f1 equal to a11, say, let me say y1. Okay, again, these are y1, y2, yn, or quantity for which I am going to assign drawn. F2 is equal to A2 1y1 plus A2 2y2 plus A2 n yn, so on up to Fm, which is equal to Am1 y1. So all I did was replaced x1, x2, xn by y1, y2, yn, so that if they are not solutions, then their sum is going to be some f1, f2, fm. Okay, only when y1, y2, yn are solutions will f1, f2, fm be 0. Okay, otherwise f1, f2, fm are non-zero. So I'm just taking a general case where I have taken a linear sum of the variables y1, y2, yn. Okay, and then I have determined other thing values f1, f2, fm, which are defined as shown here. Any questions? Now, let me consider an fs such that S is greater than R, but less than M is greater than S, greater than R. Okay, which means S can take the value R plus 1 or R plus 2 or all the way up to M. Okay, now let me consider the following determinant. Okay, consider the determinant. Sorry, R plus 1 by R plus 1 determinant. What is the determinant? So this will be, or the, sorry, I'm looking at the determinant. So let me write down in vertical lines. So A1 1, F1, A2 1 to A2 R, F2, AR1 to ARR, FR, and the new this thing row equation S1. Okay, AS1, ASR, FS. Okay, do you follow? Okay, what I have taken is just the R by R matrix, and I have bordered that by a column which is F1, F2, FR, FS, and a row which is AS1, AS2, ASR, FS. Okay, now I can replace values for FS, F1 to FS, and I can write it in the following fashion. Okay, and I can use one of the theorems of determinants, that if one of the columns is a sum of two elements, then I can write it as a sum of two determinants. Is that correct? If F1, F2, FR, FS are all sum of two values, then I can write them as two determinants. And if the sum of n values, I can write them as sum of n determinants. So I can write this as sigma over 2 is equal to 1 to n A1 1, A1 2, A1 R. Then I'll have A1 new, A2 1, A2 2, A2 R, A2 new. And then I have AR1, AR2, ARR, AR new, then AS1, AS2, ASR, ASB. Just 1 second, I'll be back. Okay. So now, what can you say about the determinants on the right hand side? So I can actually expand this by the first column. So all these determinants are 0, right? On the right hand side, the r plus 1 by r plus 1 determinants are all 0. Am I right?
Why, sir?
Yes, sir.
Because the matrix A has rank R, and you have tried to write down a r plus 1 by r plus 1 matrix, which is a submatrix of A. So since the rank is R, the right hand side is 0.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now I can also show that I can expand this whole thing by the last column. Expanding by last column. What I'll get is the following. I'll get F1 times some determinant ds1, where I have ds1 is a the coefficient of f1. Okay, is a cofactor of f1 in the determinant, which is s plus 1 by s plus 1. Okay, so this is a determinant. It's a cofactor determinant. Okay, and then I'll have f2 ds2 plus etc. And when I come to f, it will be determinant r. Right? Because what is the submatrix of what is the cofactor of Fs? It is this determinant. Okay, and that determinant is nothing but determinant R. So the last term is determinant R. Okay, and the others are not necessarily the determinants that you know. Okay, now this whole thing is equal to 0, right? Because I have shown that the left hand side is equal to the sum on the right hand side, and the right hand side every determinant is 0, because every determinant is obtained from a submatrix which is r plus 1 by r plus 1 of the matrix A. The matrix A has only rank R, and so any submatrix of rank R of order r plus 1 by r plus 1 has to be 0. Okay, so that's the reason why the right hand side is going to be 0. So I can write down Fs to be equal to minus upon determinant R into F1 ds1 plus F2 ds2 plus R dsr. Okay, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then what happens? So I can actually write it as F1 and others I can expand, right? So I can say Fs is equal to minus 1 upon determinant R into F1 is A11 x1 or rather y1 plus A2 y2 plus A1, right? That's what I had taken. A1n by n. So you see the definitions, right? F1 to Fn, I have the definitions there on top. So I'm just taking the same thing here and substitute. This times ds1. So plus F2 is A21 y1 plus A22 y2 plus A2n yn ds2 plus etc. plus fr is ar1 y1 plus ar2 y2 plus etc. plus arn1 times dsr. Okay, I have done nothing except the substitutions. Okay, some trivial substitutions is what I have done. Correct? Any doubts?
No, sir.
Now, if x1, x2, etc. are solutions of first R equations, then a11 x1 plus a12 x2 plus etc. plus a1n xn is equal to 0, right? Because they are solutions. a21 x1 plus a22 x2 plus etc. plus a2 and xn 0, and similarly all the way to R. AR1 x1 plus AR2 x2 plus etc. plus ARN xn is equal to 0. So what it means, determinant R is not equal to 0. F of k x1 x2 etc. x of n k equal to 1 2 etc. R all 0. Right? So what happens is the following. Okay, so now you see f1 is 0. You see this, f1 is 0, f2 is 0, fr is 0. If I substitute for y1, y2, yn, x1, x2, xn, right? So each one is 0. Each one of the cofactors, f1, f2, fr are all 0. Okay, so which means the right hand side is going to be 0. That is, fs is equal to 0 for y1 equal to x1, y2 equals to yn equal to xn, or x1, x2, xn the Sth equation. These are the first R equations. Clear? So what I had done was I got a solution from for the first R equations. Okay, and so I knew x1, x2, x0 with xr plus 1 to xn arbitrary. So I knew the solutions. Okay, so because I knew the solutions, all I showed was the same solution satisfies the remaining equations also. Okay, so we have been able to solve. Hence, system. Hence, any questions so far?
No, sir.
Yes or no? I hope it's clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now I want to show something else which is related to linear independence. And I will say that if vectors, if I let me put it differently. Okay. If a matrix A is non-singular, then all its rows or columns form a linearly independent set of vectors. In a way, the extension of the Graham's determinant principle that I talked about, but I'll show you here in the context of matrices. Okay. So
Hello, sir. Your voice is breaking sometimes, slightly.
Oh, maybe the problem is with your internet, not mine, because I checked last time, and Gautam told me that my voice was clear.
Sir, I am Gautam only.
Oh, you are Gautam, is it? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. It's a slightly breaking. I think it's fine for all of. Maybe it's my problem.
Okay, but I don't know about others. Anyway, in
It
any
is
case,
breaking, sir.
So, I mean, this is a problem with online classes, right? That's the reason why I'm repeating everything. Are you able to follow what I have said so far? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Have you followed everything that I've said so far?
Yes, sir.
So I can proceed, okay? So what I will do is I'll try and repeat sometimes, okay? So that, even if my voice has broken, you will still be able to make up and understand what I'm doing, okay? So now let us consider P vectors, okay? And implement the definition of what is linear independence. Let us consider P vectors x1, x2, etc., xp. Okay. Now, if they are linearly independent, x times k1 plus k2 times x2 plus etc. plus kp times plus kp times xp is equal to 0 only has trivial solution. That is k1, k2, kp all 0. Okay. Now, what I actually write down x1, x2, xp in terms of their components. So what I'll say is jth component vector x1 is x1, okay. Similarly, x2 is xj2, etc. So if that is the case, then I can actually write down the following equation for linear independence the following way. Okay, I can write down this one as x11 k1 plus x21 j's component is always xj1, right? x1 so x12 k2 plus etc plus x1n kn equal to 0. Okay, so is the first component of vector 1, first component of vector 2, first component of vector n. Similarly, I can write this one as x2. For the second component, I can write it as x21 plus x22 k2 plus etc. plus x2n kn is equal to 0. And for the nth component, I can write it as x1 and x1p x1 and kp, because we have p vectors, but each vector can have n components. I have xp1 k1 plus xp2 k2 etc. plus xp n kp is equal to 0. Right? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So I'm just wondering whether I've taken the correct. So I think I have made some mistake. The jth component, so xj1, first component, second component, pth component. Okay. So if I'm taking the second component of k1, k2, kp, pth component, and the nth component also I have to write out, right? I have xn1 k1 plus xn2 k2 plus x. Just 1 second. Okay, so is first vector, and so the last vector is p, is always p. Okay, we should have made sure that. Okay, last vector is always p, so that's okay. I need not have written sequence. So what does it mean? I can write it down in the following fashion. I can write it as x11, x12, x1p, okay, x21, x22, x2p, etc. xn1, xn2, xnp. Then I have k1, k2, kp. That's equal to 0. Right? So what I have is a case where I have, and then I have n greater than or equal to p, because the number of components has to be greater than the number of vectors in this case I've taken. Then if this should be non-trivial, sorry. Okay, so I have p equations and n unknowns, and for the time being, let us consider p component. Okay, if it is p component vectors, then what I'll have is the following: x11, x12 to x1p, x21, x22, x2p, xp2 to xpp times k1, k2 to kp. This is equal to 0. Okay, if we should have only trivial solution, That is K1 equal to 0, K2 equal to 0, etc., Kp equal to 0. What does trivial solution mean for the vectors x1 to xp? What does it mean for the vectors x1 to xp if in this summation you only have a trivial solution?
Linearly independent.
They are all linearly independent, right? Okay. Then determinant x is equal to 0. Or that any row or column of x can be written as a linear combination of the remaining rows and columns. Is that understood? So you see, if K1, K2, Kp are all 0, then this determinant is non-zero. Okay. So if this determinant here is non-zero, okay, it means that the row vectors that I'm looking at, which are x1, k1 x1, k2 x2, kp xp, all these row vectors which are actually rows of the determinant are all non-zero, right? Which means that no row can be expressed as a linear combination of the other rows, or no column can be expressed as a linear combination of the other columns. Is that clear?
Yes.
So for example, what is this determinant? 1, 1, 2, 2. What is the value of this determinant? What is the value of this determinant?
0.
0. And what you see, that row 1 is twice, row 1 is row 2, and column 1 and column 2 are right. Or if you take it, you can say that the column vectors or the row vectors are not linearly independent, and that is why the determinant is 0. So one way of checking whether the determinant is 0 or not is by this method, and this is exactly what we did in the case of Gram's determinant principle. If you make the Gram's determinant principle in the Cartesian coordinate system, okay, into a basis which consists of E1, E2 to En, then you get exactly the same result. Okay. Okay, so now let me look at the arbitrary inhomogeneous system of equations. Okay, so what I have done is for a arbitrary homogeneous system, just to recap, okay, so what you have is take R linearly independent.
Sir, your voice is breaking.
Take R linearly independent equations. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I am also writing at the same time, so you must be able to, kind of supplement each other. Okay, so you take R linearly independent equations and transpose variable plus 1 to n to the right hand side and use Kramer's rule to solve for x1, x2, etc., xr in terms of xr plus 1, xr plus 2, etc. xr plus n. Okay, so that's what you do. And what you get is the vectors that you get a solution are n minus r in number. Sorry, n minus r in number. Okay, and these solutions are linearly independent. Okay. Now, to know that these solutions are linearly independent, what we can do is we can construct, say, for example, consider solution 1 as xr1 equal to and xr plus 2, xr plus 3, etc. xn equal to 0. Because all my values are this thing xr plus 1 to xn are all arbitrary. Okay, that's what I said. So solution 1 corresponds to this. So I can write the solution 1 as x1, x2, minus 1, 0, 0, up to n. Right, this will be solution 1. Okay, I can take solution 2. So solution 1 is a vector. Okay, so let me call this solution 1 as a vector, which is given by, let us say, Q1. Solution 2 is Q2. First solution is Q2. I take as x1, x2, etc. I take xr plus 2 to be minus 1, to be 1. Take it as plus 1. Why I'm taking it as minus? Okay, so that means I have taken the second solution as xr plus 2 equal to 1 and all other 0. Similarly, I can write down as rth solution Qn minus r as x1, x2, xr 0, 0, 1. Now, okay. So now consider this matrix. Consider the matrix of coefficients of components. If you want components, so that is given by x1, x2, xr 1, 0, 0, 0, x1, x2, xr 0, 0, 1, x2, xr 0, 0, 1. Okay, and this is a n n minus r rows n components columns. Correct. So this is n columns, and I have n minus r rows. Because I have all these vectors q1, q2, qn minus r corresponding to xr plus 1 equal to 1, xr plus 2 equal to 1, and so on until x of n equal to 1. Okay, and that is n minus r in number. Okay, now this is an n minus r rows by n column vector. Okay, now tell me, what is the rank of this matrix? What is the rank of matrix? What do you mean by rank? Rank of a matrix, what do you mean by that?
Order of
Can
the,
you people hear me?
yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me. Yeah, tell me what is meant by rank of a matrix.
So order of the highest order matrix whose determinant and which is square and whose determinant is non-zero.
That's not a submatrix.
So now what is the order of this matrix? What is the rank of this matrix?
N minus R.
Is n minus r. Very good. So what we have is, you see, because I can take this n minus r matrix, right? This is a n minus r by n minus r matrix. And what is the value of the determinant of the submatrix? What is the determinant equal to? What is the determinant of a diagonal matrix?
1.
Yeah, it's just the product of the diagonal elements, right? So this has determinant equal to 1, which means the vectors in R are linearly independent. Okay, so the rank of a matrix is nothing but the rank of the number of linearly independent rows in the matrix. Okay, or linearly independent columns, does not matter. So in this case, it's a n minus r by n matrix, and all the n minus r rows are linearly independent. That you can see that you can never express one row in terms of another. Okay, so you have n minus r linearly independent solutions. Okay, so a homogeneous system n unknowns and m equations has n minus r linearly independent solutions. Okay, so this is very important because we will come to eigenvalue problems where we will have to worry about these things. Okay, now let me go to another part, which is how do you solve a inhomogeneous system of linear equations. So we dealt with so I showed you how you can get the solution of a homogeneous system by actually considering the submatrix which is whose determinant is non-zero, the largest submatrix whose determinant is non-zero, and you take the equations corresponding to this rows of the submatrix and transpose all the unknowns beyond R to the right hand side, and then solve the system as though it is a inhomogeneous equation using Cramer's rule, and then you have solutions which are now functions of x r plus 1 to x n, and these solutions are n minus r linearly independent solutions. This is what I have shown. Okay.
So can you show this in an example?
In an example, I will leave it to Crazy Engineering Mathematics. You can look at the examples. Okay. But yeah, okay, let me show you one example. Okay, two equations and two unknowns. So a trivial one I'll show you. Okay. So let me say that I have the same x1 plus x2 equal to, okay, 1 plus 3. Okay. So the determinant of this one, the matrix equation I can write down for this one is the following. I can write it as 1, 1, 2, 2, x1, x2 is equal to 0. Okay. Now this is matrix A is right. So the solution is non-trivial. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? Okay. So what I will do is I will take only the rank is 1. Okay, because there is only 1 by 1 submatrix which has a non-zero determinant. Okay, that is any one of them you can take. So let me take the first one. So this is A1 1, 2, A2 1, A2. So I take first equation, which A1 1 plus A2 x is equal to 0. Okay, so this actually when I plug in the value of A11 and A12, I will get the first equation. So this x2. So this is x1 equal to minus x2. So the solution is xn minus x. Okay, or any solution, anything that takes the following values. One minus 1 into n alpha. So this is the solution. Okay, now the point is how do you fix alpha? Okay, sometimes you have to fix alpha. How to fix alpha? We can say the solution has to be normalized. We then get the unique solution 1 upon root 2 to minus 1 by root. Okay, so this is the unique solution. This becomes a unique solution because you have imposed one more condition. This is a trivial I've just shown. But across this, when you want to get the eigenstates of a spin operator, for example, a spin operator is a 2 by 2 matrix. Spin can be represented as a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, and you are looking at the eigenstates of a 2 by 2 matrix. Okay, and you want to find out in terms of the up and down spin states, you can get the solution in that case. Okay, so this is a trivial example I've given, but if you want slightly non-trivial examples which require a little more arithmetic, you can look at engineering maths by Crazy. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay, now let us go to this thing, inhomogeneous system of equations. So this system is actually given by, say, a11 x1 plus a12 x2 plus a1 n xn. That means there are n unknowns. Is equal to b1. Then I have a21 x1 plus a22 x2 plus a2n xn equal to b2. And maybe I can write it as am1 x1 plus a2 x2 plus amn xn. If you want to solve this equation. So if I have to solve this equation, what I will do is consider one more unknown. Xn plus 1. Okay. And write the system as a11 x1 plus a12 x2 plus a1n xn plus b1 xn plus 1 equal to 0. a21 x1 plus a22 x2 plus a2n xn plus b2 xn plus 1 equal to 1 plus am2 x2 plus etc. plus amn xn plus bn plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay. So solve this as m equations, n plus 1 unknowns, homogeneous system. So I have cheated and I have written this as a homogeneous system by introducing one more unknown, which is xn plus 1. Then solution is given by xn plus 1 equal to minus 1. Okay. So if you put xn plus 1 equal to minus 1, because xn plus 1 is already arbitrary, right? When you have m equations and n unknowns, then you can put xn plus 1 equal to minus 1 and then you get the solution. Okay. Now, what are the conditions under which the solution exists? Okay. For the solution to exist, what we have is the following. Let me write the above system as bx equal to 0. The new system can be written as bx b by n plus 1 matrix with n plus 1 unknowns. B is called an augmented matrix. How have you augmented the matrix? Augmenting means to increase the dimensionality of the matrix. B by adding an extra column, which is the inhomogeneous part of the system of equations. Okay, so I can write down B in the following fashion. Okay, if X is the solution, okay, we can write down the system as let me write it down. as Bx equal to A1 to A2n, A1, AM1 to AM. B, B, BN times X1, X2, n plus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, so I can write down for B1 the following. So I can write down the matrix B as sigma over I equal to 1 to n. I can write down A11, A1n, okay, A21, A2n, AN1 to AN. Then I have AI1, AI2, AIN times XI. Since XI is absolute, okay, then I have AI1 X1 plus AI2 X2, etc. AI XI is equal to B. Right? So for BI, I have replaced, EI1, EI2, etc. This is in equation I. So if I look at any general equation, so I will have BI appearing with EI1 XI, EI2 XI, etc., etc. Is it clear? You can substitute for B1, B2, etc. Okay, so let me do it in 2 steps if you have still a doubt. So what I'll do is B is equal to A1 1 to A1. Then B1 is sigma over J equal to 1 to N A1J XJ. Okay. And then I have A2 A2J XJ. That is B2, right? Because you see the values. Okay. So I have A1 1 X1, A1 2 X2, etc. A1 1 N A1 N Xn is equal to B1. Similarly, A2 1 X1, A2 2 X2 plus A2 N Xn equal to B2, and so on and so forth. So that is why our A1 1 X1 plus A1 2 X2 plus etc. A1 N Xn is equal to B1. Okay, and then I can write down AM1 A2. So this must have been AMN must have been sigma over J is equal to 1 to N AMJ XJ. Okay, so this is matrix B, right? I have just expanded it and written down matrix B. And if that is a matrix B, I can actually write it as sigma over J. XJ, I take a common factor XJ, and I can write it 1, A2 to A1, then J. Okay, A2 1, A2 2 to A2N, then I have A2J. then have same thing, A31, etc. to go. So let me write the last one. So the last one is AM1, AM2 to AM10, and then AMJ. So this is a full matrix, right? Because I can write the matrix as sum of different matrices, where one of the columns is a sum of various elements. Okay, is this clear? Have you people left or are you there? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now what can you say about the rank of these matrices? So they call it sigma over rank of the matrices Bj. What you are seeing is that one of the columns is going to be the jth column has been repeated here, right? Earlier you had the matrix A. Okay, so you had this matrix A. To this matrix, you have added the jth column. Okay, that corresponds to A1j, A2j, etc. So you have repeated one of the columns that was here, okay, into this one. For example, when I have x1, the repeated column is A11, A21, AM1. When I have x2, the repeated column is A12, A22 to AM2, because that is the column that is going to come there. So this column is a repeated column of one of the columns that already exist here. So the rank of matrices Bj is the same as rank of matrix A. Right? If you take a matrix and you add to that matrix, you augment the matrix by adding either one extra row or one extra column, which already exists in the matrix A, then the rank does not change. Right? Because it is just common sense. Because what happens is that new determinant is going to be non-zero. Supposing the first one was this thing, say, what you have done is you have just added one of the repeated rows or columns. In this case, you have added one of the repeated rows into the old matrix. So repeated columns to one of the old matrices, and so the rank of the matrix should not change, because if you try to take it into making a AR plus 1 by R plus 1 by R plus 1 submatrix, that R plus 1 by R plus 1 submatrix will definitely have one of the columns that already existed in the R by R submatrix. Do you follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the condition is that the inhomogeneous system has a solution only if rank is the same as the rank of the original matrix. It means the system of equations is incompatible, and so you cannot solve it. Okay, so this is the condition for solution of a inhomogeneous system of algebraic equations, which is a general inhomogeneous system of algebraic equations. Any questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so with this, I will complete the linear algebraic system of linear algebraic equations. Okay, and we move over to types of matrices. Okay, so matrix A is symmetric if A transpose A. What means is that you have the following elements A11, A22, ANN. So this is only for diagonal matrices. For off diagonal matrices, there is no question of symmetry because you don't have a principal diagonal. So A1, A1n, this will be A12, etc. A2, AN. Then I'll have A1n, etc. ANN. So there is a symmetry just the following. So this and these are the same, this and these are the same. So along this principal diagonal, so that's symmetric, okay. And then let me go to other types of matrices. Hermitian matrix. H transpose equal to H. Okay, that means HI is equal to HJI star. So it's also written as H dagger equal to H. Matrices are called self-adjoint matrices because the adjoint of the matrix is itself. Okay, and then there is a third type of matrix which is important, which is called third type of matrix is called unitary matrices. If there is a Hermitian adjoint of U is equal to U inverse. That means U dagger U equal to U dagger is equal to matrix. Okay, that's when you say the matrix is unitary and orthogonal matrices are those where let me use the symbol O. O transpose is equal to O inverse. So that transpose O is equal to O transpose is equal to I. Okay. And we will study properties of these matrices because when you are doing quantum mechanics, okay, one of the most important part is to know matrix algebra of Hermitian and unitary matrices. So we will study all the properties of Hermitian matrices as well as unitary matrices because you know your Hamiltonian can be represented as a matrix which is Hermitian, and any coordinate transformation that you make or any transformation of the basis that you make to obtain a new operator, okay, or a new matrix for an operator, these are usually unitary transformations. except in very few cases where it is not unitary. For example, when you have time reversal, it will be anti-unitary matrix. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and we shall continue lecture in the next class. Okay, next class will be Monday. Okay, any questions?
Yes, sir. No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, so I will stop here and you can leave the meeting.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.